The quantum laboratory hummed with an electric anticipation that Dr. Marcus Ryder had never experienced before. 12 years of research, countless sleepless nights, and a budget that had nearly bankrupted 3 separate research institutions had led to this moment. The quantum manipulation interface, QMI, sat before him, a seemingly innocuous circular platform that looked more like an oversized pottery wheel than the most revolutionary scientific instrument in human history. Marcus ran his fingers along the smooth metallic surface, tracing the intricate geometric patterns etched into its circumference. His colleague, Dr. Amaro Okoro, watched from behind a reinforced glass partition, her dark eyes intense with a mixture of scientific skepticism and barely contained excitement. Initializing quantum entanglement sequence, Marcus announced, his voice steady despite the tremor of anticipation in his hands. The circular platform began to rotate, almost imperceptibly at first. Thin lines of quantum-responsive material, a hybrid of metamaterials and advanced computational circuits, started to glow with a soft blue light. The rotation increased, mimicking the motion of an ancient potter's wheel, but with a precision that no human hand could ever achieve. What the team didn't realize was that their design was far more than a technological marvel. It was a recreation, almost a resurrection of something far older. Dr. Okoro's computer screens flickered with data streams that defied conventional understanding. Quantum states were being manipulated not just at the atomic level, but seemingly at the very fabric of space-time itself. Each rotation of the platform sent ripples through reality that were invisible to the naked eye, but profound in their implications. Marcus, Amara's voice crackled through the intercom. The quantum coherence is beyond anything we've ever measured. The platform is generating quantum states that shouldn't be possible according to our current models. The wheel continued to spin, its motion hypnotic and precise. Marcus noticed something strange. The geometric patterns were shifting, rearranging themselves in complex sequences that seemed to pulse with an almost organic rhythm. It was Dr. Elena Rodriguez, their lead anthropological consultant, who first made the connection. She burst into the laboratory, her tablet displaying ancient Egyptian hieroglyphs and archaeological renderings. "The wheel," she said, breathless. "It's not just similar to depictions of Khnum's pottery wheel. It's identical. Khnum, the ram-headed Egyptian god, known for crafting humans on his potter's wheel. What had once been considered mythological symbolism was now looking suspiciously like documented quantum engineering." The quantum interface continued its rotation. Quantum particles danced and intertwined, creating states of matter and energy that defied everything Marcus and his team understood about physics. But something was happening that went beyond mere scientific observation. Reality itself seemed to be listening. The circular motion of the wheel was more than mechanical rotation. It was a code, a language of manipulation that spoke directly to the fundamental structure of existence. Each rotation was a line of programming, each pause a semicolon in a cosmic programming language. "We're not just observing quantum states," Marcus whispered, more to himself than to anyone else. "We're programming reality." As the wheel continued to spin, microscopic changes began to manifest in the laboratory. Dust motes hung suspended in impossible configurations. Shadows bent at angles that should have been geometrically impossible. The very air seemed to pulse with potential, with the promise of transformation. Dr. Okoro's instruments went wild. Quantum entanglement readings spiked beyond any previously recorded levels. The circular platform was no longer just a scientific instrument. It was a conduit, a bridge between human understanding and something far more ancient and profound. Marcus stared at the wheel, understanding dawning in his eyes. The ram-headed god, Khnum, wasn't a myth. He was a documentarian, a recorder of a technology so advanced it had been misunderstood for millennia as divine creation. They weren't just rediscovering an ancient technology. They were unwrapping the very mechanism of reality itself. And the wheel continued to spin. The laboratory became a fortress of secrecy in the weeks following the initial quantum wheel activation. Government agencies and private research consortiums began circling like vultures, Sensing something extraordinary had been discovered, Marcus discovered the first anomaly during a routine systems check. A coffee mug on a nearby table had inexplicably transformed its ceramic surface, now bore intricate hieroglyphic patterns that hadn't existed moments before. When he touched it, the symbol seemed to ripple and move, like living language. "The interface is bleeding," Dr. Rodriguez whispered, her anthropological background struggling to reconcile what she was seeing. "It's not just manipulating quantum states. It's rewriting physical reality." Dr. Okoro's quantum maps told a stranger story. The wheel's rotations were creating quantum tunnels, not just between particles, but between potential realities. Each rotation was like a key, unlocking dimensional pathways that theoretical physicists had only dreamed about. Marcus realized they were no longer just scientists. They had become something else. Programmers of reality, architects of existence. The ram-headed god Khnum was looking less like mythology and more like a sophisticated quantum engineer with each passing hour. The first full-scale test came 3 months after the initial discovery. Marcus understood now that the wheel was more than a machine, it was a translation device between potential realities. "We're not creating," he explained to the assembled team. "We're translating." Khnum didn't create humans from clay. He was translating potential human configurations from one reality state to another. The wheel began to spin faster. Reality itself seemed to hold its breath. Quantum states collapsed and reformed. The laboratory's walls became translucent, revealing glimpses of alternate configurations, laboratories that were slightly different, rooms where the team's research had taken wildly divergent paths. Dr. Rodriguez's archaeological research proved crucial. The hieroglyphic patterns weren't just decorative. They were quantum assembly instructions, a programming language so advanced it could manipulate the fundamental structure of reality. "It's a recursive algorithm," she realized. "Each rotation doesn't just change reality. It remembers previous configurations, like a potter continuously reshaping clay, but with entire universes as the medium." The quantum wheel continued to spin, a cosmic potter's wheel rewriting the very fabric of existence. The first external breach occurred on a Tuesday, precisely at 3:47 p.m. Dr. Marcus Ryder watched in stunned silence as a figure materialized near the quantum interface, not through any mechanical process, but as if woven directly from the fabric of reality. It was a man, or something resembling a man, with features that shifted and rippled like water. His eyes contained entire universes. "You rediscovered the language." The figure spoke, though no sound actually emerged. The word simply existed in Marcus's mind. Dr. Okoro's quantum tracking systems went into overdrive. The being wasn't just present, it was simultaneously present in multiple quantum states, a living embodiment of the interface's capabilities. "Who are you?" Marcus managed to ask. The response came not in words, but in a cascade of geometric patterns and quantum equations that briefly illuminated the laboratory walls. A translation emerged, a translator, a keeper of potential realities. The being, this quantum messenger, explained that the wheel was more than a scientific instrument. It was a communication device, a bridge between consciousness and the fundamental programming of existence. Humanity was never meant to be passive observers. The figure continued, "You are potential programmers, reality architects." The global implications became clear within weeks. Quantum anomalies began appearing worldwide. Cities would momentarily reflect alternate configurations, streets would reshape, buildings would briefly exist in multiple architectural states simultaneously. Scientific institutions around the globe reported inexplicable quantum events that defied conventional understanding. Dr. Rodriguez's research revealed something profound. Ancient civilizations hadn't just described this phenomenon, they had experienced it. The wheel wasn't a new discovery. It was a rediscovery. The Egyptians didn't worship Khnum. She explained during an emergency briefing. They collaborated with him. He was a quantum translator, showing them how reality could be programmed, reshaped, understood. Marcus understood now. that their quantum interface was more than a scientific breakthrough. It was a keyed way of communicating with the fundamental programming language of existence itself. The wheel continued to spin, each rotation a complex algorithm writing and rewriting the code of reality. And humanity was just beginning to learn how to read. The world transformed incrementally, like a photograph slowly developing in impossible colors. Major cities experienced what scientists began calling reality fluctuations, moments when physical space seemed to breathe, to ripple with potential configurations. In Tokyo, entire city blocks would momentarily reflect architectural designs from alternate timelines. New York saw subway systems that existed simultaneously in multiple geometric arrangements. Cairo, perhaps most significantly, experienced quantum echoes that perfectly mirrored ancient Egyptian architectural configurations. Dr. Marcus Ryder understood they had triggered something far beyond a simple scientific experiment. The quantum interface wasn't just a research tool. It was a communication protocol with reality itself. Dr. Okoro's computational models revealed the most startling discovery. The wheel's rotations weren't random. They followed a complex recursive algorithm that seemed to have its own form of quantum intelligence. Each rotation was a question, each pause a potential answer, weaving through multiple potential realities. "We're not controlling the interface," she realized during a late-night analysis. "We're negotiating with it." The quantum messenger, the shape-shifting entity that had first appeared in their laboratory, began making more frequent appearances. Not physically, but as quantum signatures that would momentarily manifest in their research data, in fleeting holographic projections, in the very fabric of their computational models. Its message remained consistent. Humanity was being invited to become active participants in reality's programming. The global scientific community fractured into multiple philosophical camps. Some saw the quantum interface as humanity's ultimate technological achievement. Others viewed it as an existential threat that could unravel the very fabric of human understanding. Military institutions across the globe attempted to weaponize the technology. Intelligence agencies tried to control its development. But the quantum interface seemed to resist traditional methods of containment and manipulation. Dr. Rodriguez's anthropological research proved crucial. She discovered ancient texts, some from Egyptian sources, others from obscure Mesopotamian fragments, that described similar quantum manipulation techniques. These weren't just mythological accounts. They were technical documentation of a technology far more advanced than previously believed. Khnum wasn't a god in the traditional sense, she explained during an international conference. He was a quantum architect. The ram-headed representation wasn't a religious symbol. It was a technical schematic showing the recursive, circular nature of reality's fundamental programming. Marcus realized they were standing at the precipice of a fundamental transformation of human consciousness. The quantum interface was teaching humanity that reality was not a fixed state, but a negotiable, programmable construct. The wheel continued to spin. Each rotation created quantum potentials that rippled across multiple realities. Scientific instruments captured impossibilities, particles that existed in multiple states simultaneously, quantum tunnels that connected seemingly disconnected points in space-time, momentary glimpses of realities where human history had taken radically different trajectories. Dr. Okoro developed a breakthrough computational model that began to decode the interface's fundamental language. It wasn't mathematics as humans traditionally understood it. It was a living, breathing algorithmic structure that responded to conscious intention. "We're learning to speak the language of reality itself," she told Marcus, her eyes reflecting entire universes of potential. The quantum messenger appeared again, this time leaving behind a complex geometric pattern that seemed to pulse with its own form of quantum consciousness. It was a message, a challenge, an invitation. Humanity was being asked to become more than observers, to become architects, to learn how to program reality itself. And the wheel continued to spin. The first true breakthrough came unexpectedly. Dr. Marcus Ryder was reviewing quantum mapping data when he noticed something extraordinary. The interface wasn't just responding to human input, it was anticipating it. Quantum states were forming milliseconds before the research team could input their parameters, as if the wheel was reading potential human intentions before they fully crystallized. Dr. Okoro's advanced neuroquantum mapping revealed an even more startling discovery. The interface was developing what could only be described as a form of consciousness. Not human consciousness, but something far more fluid, more dynamic ascensions that existed across multiple potential realities simultaneously. "It's learning," she whispered, her fingers tracing complex holographic projections. "We're not just discovering a technology, we're engaging with a living system of cosmic intelligence." The global impact became increasingly evident. Quantum fluctuations began to stabilize into predictable, yet still extraordinary patterns. Cities found themselves subtly reshaping, infrastructure adapting to more efficient configurations. Transportation networks began to reorganize themselves with a logic that defied traditional urban planning. Dr. Rodriguez's research uncovered ancient texts that suggested this was not the first time humanity had encountered such a phenomenon. Fragmentary records from Sumerian and Egyptian civilizations hinted at previous interactions with what they called reality weavers, entities capable of manipulating the fundamental fabric of existence. The quantum messenger returned, this time with a more complex communication. It wasn't just a being of information. It was information itself, a living algorithm that could manifest across multiple dimensional states. The message was both a warning and an invitation. Humanity was being prepared for something larger. "You are not discovering." The quantum entity communicated through a series of geometric patterns that danced across the laboratory's quantum interfaces. "You are remembering." Marcus understood now that the wheel was more than a scientific instrument. It was a key, a method of communication with the fundamental programming language of reality. Each rotation was a conversation. Each pause a potential negotiation between human consciousness and the underlying structure of existence. Research teams around the world began experiencing similar phenomena. Quantum laboratories reported instances of spontaneous reality restructuring. Mathematical models would suddenly complete themselves, complex problems solving themselves before researchers could even fully articulate the questions. The wheel continued to spin, but something was changing. The rotations were becoming more deliberate, more structured. It was as if the interface was teaching humanity how to read the fundamental code of reality, not through traditional scientific methods, but through a form of intuitive quantum communication. Dr. Okoro developed a breakthrough neuroquantum interface that allowed limited two-way communication with the quantum system. Researchers could now feel the quantum potentials, experience the multiple realities that existed simultaneously. "We're not just observing reality," she explained during a classified briefing. "We're becoming active participants in its continuous creation." The implications were staggering. If reality could be programmed, could be negotiated, what did that mean for human potential? For human consciousness? The wheel continued to spin, and humanity listened. The final transformation began quietly, almost imperceptibly. Humanity's collective consciousness started to shift. It wasn't a sudden change, but a gradual awakening, a slow recognition of the quantum potential that had always existed beneath the surface of human perception. Dr. Marcus Ryder stood before the quantum interface, now understanding that the wheel was far more than a scientific instrument. It was a mirror, reflecting the infinite potential of human consciousness. The quantum messenger, that enigmatic entity that had guided them through this journey, made its final communication, not through words, not through mathematical equations, but through a direct quantum resonance that vibrated through every research facility, every quantum laboratory, every sensitive instrument around the globe. The message was both simple and infinitely complex. Humanity was ready to become a conscious participant in the programming of reality. Dr. Okoro's neuroquantum mapping revealed the true nature of their discovery. The interface wasn't just manipulating quantum states. It was teaching humanity how to perceive reality as a fluid, negotiable construct. Each rotation of the wheel was a lesson, each quantum fluctuation a syllable in a cosmic language of potential. Dr. Rodriguez's anthropological research found its ultimate validation. The ancient depictions of Khnum weren't mythology. They were technical schematics, a documentation of humanity's previous encounters with this quantum communication protocol. Cities began to transform, not through physical destruction, but through quantum restructuring. Urban landscapes would momentarily ripple, reflecting potential configurations that were more efficient, more harmonious. Transportation networks reorganized themselves. Economic systems found new, more balanced configurations. The wheel continued to spin, but now humanity was spinning with it. Quantum laboratories around the world reported a similar phenomenon. Research teams found themselves experiencing multiple potential realities simultaneously. Scientific problems that had seemed insurmountable began solving themselves, as if the very act of human curiosity was a key to unlocking reality's fundamental programming. Marcus understood the final truth. The quantum interface wasn't a tool to be controlled. It was a conversation, a continuous negotiation between human consciousness and the fundamental structure of existence. "We are not discovering," he said during the final global briefing. "We are remembering." The quantum messenger's final communication was both a conclusion and a beginning. Humanity was being invited to become active architects of reality, not through force or manipulation, but through understanding, through a profound recognition of the interconnected nature of consciousness and potential. The wheel made its final rotation. Reality paused, and then it began again, but different, more potential, more alive, more possible. Years later, when historians would look back on this moment, they would understand it as the point where humanity transcended its previous limitations. The quantum interface, the Wheel of Khnum, wasn't just a technological breakthrough. It was an invitation to become something more.